This screen demonstration provides a broad overview of a Pinus radiata plantation model that combines financial, silvicultural and growth model functionality. It's been developed by Forest Values. The video runs for about 15 minutes, but I hope you find it informative even if you don't acquire the model. The model enables the valuation of an existing crop, the evaluation of the purchase of an existing crop as an investment, or the evaluation of an investment in new plantations, whether a second rotation or maybe conversion of land from another land use. It also enables the evaluation of the impacts of changed silviculture or thinning regimes on plantation value. I'll run briefly through the model in terms of the assumptions that the user must populate and the results that are generated from those assumptions. This overview is supplemented by a set of videos that explains the model workings in much greater detail and demonstrates a range of applications. All of the assumptions and results can be found in the Model tab. Only cells shaded yellow can be edited. The non-yellow shaded cells in the Model tab and all of the other tabs provide for the model workings and as such are protected from change. Now don't worry about editing the wrong thing, nothing can be wrecked. Key results, that's product MAI, net present value and internal rate of return, they're always visible at the top of the screen and are shaded pink. In this example we're considering the purchase of a 17-year-old plantation with an expected MAI of 16.5 GMT per hectare per year over a 25-year rotation length. And that's going to generate a 7.9% internal rate of return post-tax on a $2,000 per hectare purchase price. And the cash flow is expressed in real values, representing a net present value of minus $24 per hectare at an 8% real discount rate. These summary results are not displayed if data entry or assumption errors or inconsistencies have been identified that require correction. The model has a comprehensive error trapping system. So column A on the left is an index to the errors, enabling you to quickly find and correct assumptions. Because we may want to do a change analysis to store, we can store the original model results in row 4 to observe the impact of changes in assumptions as we work through the model. I've already entered the original results again, so the MAI, the internal rate of return, net present value. I've already populated the assumptions in this model, but each assumption does require careful thought and justification. The results are automatically updated as assumptions are changed. The cash flow can be expressed in real values or nominal values. A real discount rate must always be defined along with a measure of underlying inflation, so the discount rate employed to discount future cash flow to the valuation date can flip between 11% nominal to 8% real depending on your choice of cash flow. The timing of cash flows for the purposes of discounting can be defined as mid-year, June 30, or the start of the year or the end of the year. The model is based on one rotation, either the current or the impending rotation. The analysis is undertaken using post-tax cash flows. The default's to 30% company tax rate, but you can nominate 0% if you want to restrict the analysis to pre-tax cash flow. We can deploy 3 different valuation or investment analysis approaches to cover nearly every circumstance. We can value an existing crop within the estate, or we can evaluate an investment in a new crop. Maybe this is a second rotation. Or in this example, we are evaluating the purchase of an existing crop. We answer the question, what return on investment in the crop over the current rotation is achieved at a nominated purchase price? In this video, the model is set up as an acquisition, so we'll explore the other 2 types of evaluations in separate videos. I've included a comment on land values. This model is confined to the crop alone and does not include a land valuation component. However, the nature of the crop owner's interest in the land is highly relevant, and I devote a whole video to discussing that issue. For now, all that I'll say is that the model allows for land to be treated as a cost to the plantation through the payment of an annual rent. As we are evaluating a plantation purchase, we need a purchase price. We also must define a valuation date, a planting date and a rotation length, thereby establishing the clear fall date coinciding with the end of the investment return period. Here we've got a valuation as of 1st of July 2012 of a plantation planted a while ago, on the 1st of July 1995, so it's a 17-year-old plantation, with an intended rotation length of 25 years, hence a clear fall date of July 2020 and an investment return period of 8 years. The establishment stocking is also defined as is the unthinned stand stocking at age 10, hence the mortality from establishment to age 10 years, in this case 13%. Age 10 years is an important reference point for the model, as height and basal area at age 10 and basal area increment from age 10 represent indices of site quality. You can see the stocking graph from establishment to age 10 and then before and after each thinning operation. Next, the harvest strategy is defined, being the thinning ages, if any, and the stockings pre and post thinning. Up to 5 thinnings are possible prior to clear fall. Here we've defined 2 thinnings, and notice that as the T1 age is less than the current age or the valuation age, the model notes that the operation has been completed, but you still need to enter the outcome. Thinning is by selection from below, although an outrow first thinning can be modelled. Just select the frequency of outrows, i.e. 1 in 5, or use 0 if no outrows are extracted, i.e. just selection of stems from below. The Horn and Robinson 1988 basal area model, which was developed on New South Wales stands, is also used to provide a graphical guide as to the effect of different thinning intensities on basal area increment and diameter increment. So we discussed this play-off between basal area and diameter increment in a separate video. So this regime involves an establishment stocking of 1,200 stems per hectare, with some mortality to age 10 when the stocking was 1,050 stems per hectare, 5% further mortality to first thinning when the stocking is reduced from 1,000 to 600 stems per hectare, 2% further mortality to pre-T2, second thinning, leaves 590 stems per hectare, which is thinned down to 350 stems per hectare as of post-T2. Clear fall occurs at age 25 years after 1% further mortality. A height growth model must be nominated. Now, 3 different models are offered. One was published by Hayward in 2009 for the State Forest New South Wales resource, and a second model published by Candy in 1989 for Tasmania. The third model was published by Leach in 2007 for the Green Triangle South Australian resource. Stand volume is estimated pre and post each thinning and prior to clear fall based on stand height and stand basal area. Now we can either use a K form factor equation or Candy's 1989 volume equation. The model requires a site index being stand top height or predominant height or mean dominant height and basal area at age 10 years. As a point of reference, the nominated height site index is compared with the historical South Australian site indices as described in Lewis's Bulletin 23. Here, a 14 metre stand top height at age 10 is equivalent to a site quality 4. The same point of reference is also provided for a site index based stand basal area at age 10 years. The Candy 1989 basal area growth model is also used to predict the maximum theoretical stand basal area for a stand height of 14 metres at age 10 years. We are prevented from entering a stand basal area that exceeds the maximum theoretical value, and if the height and basal area seed values suggest different site qualities, then a flag is thrown up. The third seed value that must now be supplied is the forecast or actual recorded basal area PAI from age 10 to the next operation. In this case, the next op has been defined as T1 at age 15 years. A number of checks or hints are supplied which are explored in a separate video. These height and basal area inputs and definition of a harvest strategy, including the thinning timing and the retained stockings, are the bare minimum that's required to model stand growth. The Horn and Robinson 1988 basal area model is used to predict stand basal area pre and post each subsequent harvest operation. The model results are tabulated in a compact summary for your reference and also are graphed. Stand top height, all 3 models, stand basal area and stand volume. And you should note that the values at the age the stand is being valued are highlighted. In summary, the T1 at 15 years represents a cut of 77 GMT per hectare, including any material cut to waste. We'll get onto the actual products later on. At T2, at 20 years of age, 86 tonne a hectare is yielded, and then growing on to clear forward age 25 when we cut 249 tonne per hectare. Summing the volumes represents an MAI of 16.5 GMT per hectare over the whole rotation. We also have the opportunity to refine the model predictions after the first harvest operation using actual inventory data or hypothetical scenarios. You can leave this section blank or simply enter in alternative heights and basal areas post T1 or pre and post each subsequent harvest operation, and note the change in height, basal area and volume PAIs and the model results. I worked through a detailed example in a separate video to explore a hypothetical decline in growth due to drought after purchase of the 17-year-old plantation. The next job is to define the products to be cut at each operation. 9 default products have been defined to select from, but this list can be customised by the user to change the name by changing the names of the products. The point of sale can be milled ore, at the stump, free on board, or CIF, that's cost, insurance and freight. If free on board, you need to define the port costs. If CIF, you'll also need to define ocean freight costs as well. The product can be log or chip. Green wood density is required to convert the modelled volume to tonnes per hectare. The cartage distance for each product must be defined. Use 0 kilometres if the product is transacted at the stump. Cartage truck configuration must be defined, so either B-double or triaxle trailers. Log small end diameter underbuck must also be defined. The next step is to apportion the products to each thinning and the clear fall operation. This is a critical step having an enormous impact on revenues and overall value, and relies on having a reliable assessment of the product splits that could be expected given the features of the stand and the cutting regime, including losses, stem cut to waste for example. A separate video is devoted to this topic. We need to define stump height and log length applying to all products. At the top of the table we see each operation, T1 at 15 years, T2 at 20 years and the clear fall at 25 years. Note the modelled quadratic mean diameter breast height over bark of the stand immediately prior to each operation. A product out term based on the average tree basal area at each operation is provided as a guide. We define the percentage of the total stand volume cut in each operation, allowing for a residual amount corresponding to the volume cut to waste. So here it's 10% at T1, 5% at T2 and 5% cut to waste at clear fall. For the T1 we've allocated 85% of the thin volume as pulp log and 5% as small saw log, and leaving by default 10% cut to waste. T2 and clear fall product mixes are also defined, recognising the capacity to cut large diameter logs because of the thinning strategy. The model allows for greater than 10% to be cut to waste, but throws up a warning as to low stem merchantability. The total cut as saleable product and the average harvest, cart and supervision and roading costs and the resultant residual stumpages are all summarised. Residual stumpage equals the delivered price less any sea freight and ship loading costs where appropriate, less cartage, less harvest, roading and supervision costs. The T1 stumpage is not displayed in this example as it occurs before the valuation date. The average T2 and clearfall stumpages were $9.96 and $33.58 per GMT respectively, representing total stumpage revenues of $815 per hectare and $7,939 per hectare. This brings us to the individual cost and price inflators. We first define the time horizons that these inflators are applied to. The base year is always the current year, and this example, short term is defined as up to 3 years, i.e. from 2012 base to 2015. Medium term is from 4 to 6 years, long term is from 7 years to the end of the investment return period. CPI as a measure of general inflation is required for a cash flow based on nominal values. The average historical cost and revenue inflators are required where the valuation date is in the past. Real cost and revenue inflators have default values of 0%, but if a particular cost or revenue is reasonably expected to deviate from the general rate of inflation, then this can be accounted for. A separate video addresses the important matter of cost and price indexation. This brings us to the definition and costing of a silvicultural regime. The establishment stocking has already been defined. For each activity, nominate a stand age in years and cost in today's dollars, representing either as dollars per hectare or dollars per seedling or dollars per propagule. Negative ages infer a cost borne prior to planting. The date of planting was defined earlier, so the date of each activity is derived from both stand age and the planting date. Costs incurred prior to the valuation date are treated as sunk. Silvicultural regime design and costing is explained in a separate video. Next we add an annual maintenance cost and annual overhead costs. The cost of land to the crop is defined as a notional land rent and can be calculated in a few different ways, and I go into this thorny issue in detail in a separate video. For now, we can say that it's usually calculated as a market land rental rate derived from market evidence, or in the case of leased land, the actual lease rate at the time of valuation, or from bare land market value multiplied by the discount rate. Current production costs also need to be defined, roading and harvest supervision in dollars per GMT, and cartage costs in dollars per kilometre per GMT for triaxial and B-double log or chip truck configurations. Log and infield chip harvest costs must be defined in current dollars for each thinning and clearfall operation. Cartage and harvest costs are graphed. The model interpolates between each of the seed values for distance and harvest yield. The resulting cash flows are shown in graphical and tabular form from rows 225 to 278. We can see the outlay on the crop in 2012, the annual recurrent costs, rent, maintenance, etc., the T2 and clearfall stubbage revenues, and the tax payable. The future value cash flow is discounted to the valuation date, i.e. the net cash flow in the clearfall year in 2020 is over $5,000 per hectare. That's discounted to around $3,000 per hectare as of the 1st of July 2012. I know that this has been a whirlwind tour, but a number of other videos are available to explore the mechanics of the model and its application in much greater detail. Thank you for now, and I hope that you found this information useful. Feel free to contact me through the Forest Values website.